From a hog hunt in Texas that ended when this pilot crashed into a field, and a close call on the open ocean that nearly sent this worker overboard, to a fearless reporter in Azerbaijan who came inches away from catastrophe, and 2 police helicopters in California that broke apart after kissing blades. Here are 10 helicopter collisions and mistakes caught on camera. Albany, Texas is a small city in Shackelford County. It's home to about 1,800 people living about 170 miles west of Dallas. Like the rest of Texas, they have, let's say, a pesky pig problem. Every year, thousands of feral hogs will cause millions of dollars in crop damage. To solve their pig problems, hunters will take to the sky in helicopters and unload with high-powered semi-auto rifles. On January 9th of 2021, 3 men prepared for their 3rd flight of the day. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned, and their helicopter sputtered out of control.
Good.
All right, cool.
Watch prop.
Jump out?
It's all right.
Just wait.
Well, hold on. Stay where you are.
Yes, sir.
Wait till stuff quits moving. You
Yep.
good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Y'all good?
Yes,
Yep.
sir. I'm good.
Perfect. Sorry about that, boys.
No worries.
That's all right.
It's all right.
Thankfully, all 3 passengers walked away from the accident unscathed. According to an official report, the chopper had already made 2 successful flights that day. Shortly after takeoff during the 3rd flight, the engine sputtered and eventually lost power. Luckily, our skilled pilot was able to avoid a catastrophic landing. In 1971, environmentalists in British Columbia formed Greenpeace to oppose U.S. nuclear testing near Amchitka Island in Alaska. Since then, Greenpeace has become an international organization known for confronting polluting corporations and government authorities. Since its inception, Greenpeace has relied on what they call direct, non-violent actions. They'll get right up in your face if you're hunting an endangered animal or polluting the ocean. That means they have to act quickly, which is where helicopters come into play. On October 10th of 2006, a Greenpeace pilot was preparing for takeoff at sea. He was supposed to wait for the all clear, but may have attempted to lift off prematurely. Let's see that again in slow motion. Our pilot takes off before the deckhand can exit the landing area. The miscue causes the chopper to pitch forward and lose control, striking its tail rotor on the deck. Meanwhile, the deckhand can only watch and hope the blades don't turn him into deli meat. He's stuck between jumping into the Irish Sea and avoiding an out-of-control helicopter. Luckily, the blades miss him, and the pilot puts the bird down. More deckhands eventually approach to tie everything up again. Looking back, you can see where one crew member tells the other to disconnect the rear strap. That's when the chopper lurches forward, so we think the pilot believed he was clear for takeoff and never saw the other man coming back. In the end, everyone was lucky to have walked away unscathed. Helicopter blades are extremely fragile. The slightest bump, nick, or scrape could send them spinning out of control. On November 17th of 2012, 2 police helicopter pilots in Altadena, California learned how delicate the blades can be when one of them accidentally clipped the other while landing. The chopper you see landing is a Bell OH-58. It's attempting to stop on Helipad 2 while a similar model chopper prepares for takeoff on Helipad 1. Everything seems fine at first, but then the landing chopper drifts too far and attempts to park close to the other helipad. From this angle, it looks like there's enough space between both birds. But, as we know, angles can be deceiving. The blades collide, and both helicopters crash violently. Thankfully, the man standing on the helipad was able to scramble away and only suffered minor injuries. According to an NTSB investigation, the grounded helicopter was parked outside the marked landing zone. Moisture on the other pilot's cockpit window also made it difficult to see. A similar scene occurred in Bolzano, Italy, the capital of South Tyrol province. This time, the bird belonged to Guardia di Finanza, a militarized Italian police force under the Ministry of Economy and Finance. Even though the helipad was empty, this pilot still had trouble landing. Keep your eye on the front wheel as our pilot starts rolling toward the hangar. All seems fine at first. Then, for some reason, the wheel turns sharply, sending the helicopter into a tailspin. It pitches right, and the force inevitably pushes the blades into the ground. They explode into 1,000 pieces, leaving the helicopter flopping on its side like a fish out of water. Thankfully, nobody in the chopper or on the helipad was injured during the accident. Nothing says Valentine's Day in Texas quite like helicopter hog hunting. That's how these fellas from Bonham, Texas decided to spend their holiday in 2014. Unfortunately, Cupid's arrow shot them out of the sky after a few hours of hunting. One of their GoPros captured the whole thing as their helicopter lost control and bounced off the ground.
I got it. Oh my God!
Thankfully, the pilot and his 2 hunters walked away from the crash with only a few scrapes and bruises. The helicopter, however, sustained substantial damage. An NTSB investigation determined the crash happened due to the pilot's inadequate recovery from a loss of tail rotor effectiveness during a low-altitude downwind hover in gusty wind conditions. In other words, Mother Nature blew him out of the sky. Elmira Musazadeh deserves a gold star for bravery. She's a TV reporter for SVS TV in her native country of Azerbaijan. In the summer of 2018, she was dispatched to a local military airstrip for a special report on the Azerbaijan army. They were celebrating their 100th birthday. Elmira's job was easier said than done. All she had to do was deliver her lines while several Hind attack helicopters flew overhead. She had no idea how close she came to losing her head until after the segment aired. As if one close call wasn't enough, Elmira stands in and does the piece again as more attack helicopters fly over her. This could have easily been her last story. Watch how close the wing comes to taking her out. Imagine the sinking feeling in her cameraman's stomach as he's watching it all unfold. Her producer said Elmira left her mark as a reporter for standing in and finishing the story. Hopefully, it earned her a safer spot in the studio. India is a very religious nation. Hindus will travel far and wide to worship at one of the many temples around the country. The Kadar Temple in Uttarakhand is among the hardest to reach. It sits in the Himalayan mountains near the Mandakini River. While some can walk or drive to the temple, others choose to fly. On May 24th of 2024, Indian pilgrims loaded into a helicopter to pray at the Kedarnath Temple. All was going well until the pilot came in for a landing. Then, a technical issue with the rear motor sent them into a violent tailspin. Luckily, CCTV cameras captured the whole thing. Watch as the helicopter approaches for a routine landing. It looks like the top rotors have stopped spinning while the tail rotors are still going. This causes the aircraft to spin like it's hanging from an invisible wire. From this angle, it looks like the helicopter is too close to the fleeing spectators. In reality, the bird is about 80 feet away. As it begins to dip down, you realize that it's not even hovering over the landing pad. Things look grim as the chopper vanishes from sight. Thankfully, a reverse angle picks up from where we left off. The helicopter keeps spinning and eventually makes a hard landing. Another impact finally disables the rear rotors, allowing the chopper to stop. Ground staff rushed to the scene once the helicopter stopped moving. Thankfully, everyone inside was okay. They caught another ride to the temple and went home after saying a few extra prayers. It's early May of 2023. Alberta, Canada is ablaze, with over 250 wildfires burning across the region. Helicopter crews are working tirelessly to battle the fires before they spread any further. After logging over 85 on-duty hours in 7 days, one of those pilots came in for a landing at Edson Airport in Alberta. Unfortunately, a last-minute decision almost cost him dearly.
My God, we had a crash!
Shit.
Phone the cops. 911.
Yeah, well, phone.
No, there's people everywhere there. Someone's gonna phone.
911.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the poor guy. I hope he's okay.
Oh, Dad, there's people there.
Yeah, it don't matter.
Is he okay? I see.
God!
They're trying to extinguish it, I think, or something.
Emergency crews rushed to save the pilot, who thankfully walked away unharmed. As for his helicopter, it never lived to fight another fire. According to a report from the Transportation Safety Board of Canada, or the TSB, another helicopter was landing from the west as this chopper landed from the east. Our pilot decided to change course, instead approaching downwind toward the northern runway. Our pilot overcompensated as he slowed to avoid 2 air tankers near the firebase, which sent him into a vortex ring state, or VRS. VRS is a dangerous aerodynamic condition in which a vortex ring surrounds the rotor, causing the helicopter to lose lift. This can cause the chopper to drop rapidly, as seen in this video. Ground resonance is when an imbalance in a helicopter rotor's rotation causes the blades to bunch up on one side. It's similar to what happens when all your clothes bunch to one side in the washing machine. The imbalance causes it to shake, which is fine when doing laundry, but extremely dangerous when flying helicopters. Firefighters in Para, Brazil learned a valuable lesson in ground residence as they watched one of their choppers come in for a landing. Centripetal force basically shook the thing to pieces. Two pilots, a nurse, and a doctor were on board. Thankfully, all four walked away from the wreckage unharmed. Typically, rotor blades remain evenly spaced during flight. When they bunch to one side, it throws off the helicopter's center of mass. As the blades spin, the force applied gets greater and greater until it eventually rips the helicopter apart. It's called ground resonance because it typically happens when the chopper is on the ground during landing or takeoff. In fact, one way to mitigate the effect is to start flying. Because the airframe can move freely, it'll dampen the oscillation and get things working normally again. The Mil-Mi-8 is a twin-turbine helicopter designed by the Soviet Union in the 1960s. Today, these models serve as transport helicopters, airborne command posts, and gunships. On March 6th of 2023, one of these Mi-8s was flying over the Pavlovsky district of Voronezh, Russia, when it clipped a power line and nearly crashed into a frozen river. According to these witnesses, the helicopter circled for a few minutes before finally touching down in a small clearing. Unfortunately, the clip ends before we see the helicopter land. If you watch closely, you can see sparks flying when the helicopter hits the wire. Then, as our cameraman zooms in toward the end, you can see the wire dangling from the landing gears. It's unclear what caused the incident. Either the pilot didn't see the wire, or the wire was recently installed across a known flight path. Some sources point to the latter, but that may just be the Russian military covering for its pilots' incompetence. Politicians love traveling by helicopter. It helps them pop from place to place while campaigning in a particular state or region. With so many choppers flying thousands of influential people around the world, the law of averages is bound to make something go wrong. We all know what happened to Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi in May of 2024. Around the same time, a similar but less deadly crash occurred in Maharashtra, India. Up-and-coming Shiv Sena leader Suman Andhari was heading to a public rally ahead of upcoming elections. According to reports, the pilot was trying to land on a makeshift landing pad. A bit of miscommunication led to the helicopter crashing instead. Thankfully, our pilots walked away with only a few minor injuries. From what we can gather, they didn't know where to land during their final approach. We're thinking they drifted into this sandy area, causing them to lose visibility. Suman Andhari came into the Indian political scene a few months before this incident. She's described as a social activist belonging to a nomadic tribe and a firebrand leader for the Shiv Sena party. According to their wiki, the Shiv Sena are a right-wing Marathi regionalist and Hindu ultra-nationalist political party. Mohan Bhagwat, also known as Baba Balaknath, is an Indian politician from the Tijara constituency in Rajasthan. Like other important figures, he relies on private helicopters to transport him to and from events. One of those rides didn't go as planned on June 30th of 2019. At the time, Mahant was a member of the Indian Parliament. He was on his way to Ladpur village in Kot Kasim when his bird entered a freak tailspin. If you're prone to motion sickness, you may want to skip this clip. Luckily, Mahant's pilot gets the chopper under control and flies away off camera. It was later determined that the makeshift helipad wasn't level enough. That, combined with strong air pressure, caused the helicopter to lose balance as it tried to land. According to reports, the pilot tried to land once more in a nearby village, but for some reason, they denied him permission. In the end, Mahant cut his losses and returned to Delhi. Maybe he'll have better luck next time. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. As always, thanks for watching and be sure to tune in next time.